will commence here in just a second. I've got Dr. Ev here and David Stanley to join me today on this Zoom call. And I wanted to make this first one that we do as a very casual introduction to who we are, maybe as a team here. You know, Dr. Ev helps me out with a whole lot of things, and David Stanley has been helping me with a lot of different things also. So as I realized very quickly, I can't do this sacred spaces thing by myself. It's overwhelming. And so I've got some trusted people here that can help me out. And so with that said, I'm going to let Dr. Ev just introduce herself briefly, and then we'll let David tell you who he is, and then we'll get rolling.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Ev Nusik. As Dr. Susie says, I've been helping her with kind of some of the little tasks involved in keeping sacred spaces running. She has been working with me and my equines for 5 years, maybe now. And it has been absolutely transformational. I'm just so pleased and honored to be a part of this team, and it's great to be here with all of you this morning.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm David Stanley. I'm in Texas, if you can't tell by the accent. Let's see, I'm recently retired from marketing and business growth advisor, and now focus mostly on ranching. I've always been interested in low stress stockmanship. It's much better for the cattle. And I love horses, and it's a proven fact that working cattle with horses just helps create a low stress environment, or can if you use it properly. So I was very in tune, but I did not like a lot of what I saw out there. And I just keep asking questions like I did in my consulting practice, and found Dr. Susie. Been working with her for at least 2 years now, and working to incorporate the sacred spaces concept into really good horsemanship that's applicable to the ranching operation.
Good. Well, thank you both for joining me. And Dr. Ev didn't mention she's a retired veterinarian and retired high school science teacher. Ooh, I know. So we've got some good brains here on the team. And so what I'm going to start with today is I'm just going to show the video that Nancy McMurtry did for us. And she posted it on Facebook yesterday, but all of you may not have seen it. So I'm going to do my best attempt to see if I can get that to play here. So hang with me while I share screen, and we'll run that video. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I do and what my focus in the future is going to be here. So hold on, and I'll get this going.
Our energy is like a radio station. We have the ability to broadcast many different stations. But when we are not aware and intentional with the frequency we are expressing, it often becomes off-putting, confusing, disruptive, just like the static in between radio stations. Horses not only teach us how to organize our energy, but also how to step into the driver's seat of that energy. When we can learn how to choose which radio station is appropriate for our intention in the moment, we become congruent. Our horse will relax, your nervous system will too, and you will find those around you are also drawn to this new authenticity.
So Nancy was generous enough to make that video, and I really appreciate that because it kind of encapsulated a lot of what I do and how I think about this work. And as you saw, she was talking about frequency, and this seems to be the big buzzword now in the equestrian world, and everybody's jumping on frequency and energy and all of this. And it's been a long time coming. And yes, it is the paradigm shift that I'm talking about, is that we start to become a lot more aware of who we are as human beings and what are we transmitting out into the energy field every single moment of every day. And that's the focus of this work, is to be in that space where we understand ourselves. And that's a portion of this work. You know, I put it in this category of horsemanship and all of that, but it's really lifemanship, and it's really about us more than it is the horses, because if we're going to do this paradigm shift that I've been talking about and be an integral part of it, making positive changes, then we have to be able to step up and start to be more, not just following what other people say, not doing whatever everybody else says, but being aware of who we are. And this is really the focus of my Sacred Spaces work, not just with people, but also with horses. I want horses to begin to understand who they are and give them that opportunity to share with us those wonderful gifts that they have, to speak to us, to help us along this journey, because I really believe they're a very integral part of this paradigm shift in human evolution. And we are at a crossroads now, I think. And if you see that technology is starting to really escalate and try to take over the things that we do as human beings. And a lot of that is okay, but some of it is not, because if we just jump on that bandwagon, we're going to lose our abilities to connect with other beings. And especially the horses are begging us right now, stop going that direction. Stop being so busy. Come here, be in this space, be present with me. Share these frequencies, learn more about yourself. So really, that's my main focus in all of the work that I do, is for us to become more aware human beings. And this, we have always known about our ability to do energy. We've just forgotten. And that's all I'm doing, is just reminding everybody of what they already know how to do. And this is one of the challenges, and I can let Dr. Ev and David speak on this, that a lot of times I'll go around and I'll be teaching people these things, and they go, well, you know what, your stuff is way too hard. It takes too much time. I need to go and do this other thing because I get instant results over there. And I would say, well, there's lots of things you can do to get seemingly instant results, but they're not going to feed your soul. They're not going to help you become a better human being. They're not going to help you increase your ability to focus and be present and all of those other things. They're just another quick fix. And those are so alluring to us because our brains are so wired to say, I want a really instant answer to everything. And so we get drawn to those places where people promise those things. And unfortunately, in Sacred Spaces work, I can't promise instant fixes because the fix is within you. And when you become good at doing this stuff, the instant fixes happen. So I'm always, I can't make a decision for people when they come to this space and say, well, it's too hard, it'll take too much time. It's like, well, time will still pass. And you'll be 10 years down the road, and you'll either be really good at this or you won't try it at all. And you'll be in the same spot doing the same things you've always been doing, looking for the answer to the same questions. And here, what I found just for my personal development, I guess, in terms of my brain and my nervous system and all of those things, is that before I had knowledge. And now I was thinking this when I was driving in my car the other day. It's like, I have a lot of knowledge, but that doesn't really matter that much. What I have now from doing this work is a different brain, a brain that works and comes up with solutions and thinks differently, that I can't really put it into words right now because this just happened the other day when I was just thinking about this topic, and I thought, wow, my brain feels more alive, more connected across hemispheres, more keen, more able to make really quick decisions. And what is the reason for this? It's the work that I've been doing here in the sacred space, because I step into that every day and I'm aware of myself, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm doing or not doing. So that's really the consequence that I've felt from this, is my own brain development, not my acquisition of additional knowledge. So I'll let's go. David, do you want to step in and do you have anything on that topic
Yeah,
here?
you're right. We're in a society now, especially in the West, where we want everything instantaneously. We can get packages overnight. Heck, now if you live in certain areas, you can get your Amazon delivered the same day. You know, and there's been so many things with the advent of the internet, that just instant gratification we can get, and especially with social media, people go there for dopamine hits, and it's to our detriment. But what I've learned about what you do is most everything is very simple, but it is not simplistic. And there's a
No.
big difference in that. And what I'm noticing is that um, it does take a mindset shift. It does take a mind, but it will pay off longer if you do it this way in the beginning. You'll get better results in the long term, lasting results that the horse will feel better and you will feel better.
Yeah. And thank you, David. And one of the things that I try to impress on people too is that our old horsemanship was really one horse, you and the horse you have in front of you. And then you work on that relationship and you do those things that create that relationship with that individual horse. But what's lovely about this work is that once you learn a certain set of principles and skills in terms of the energy, those are applicable to every single person, animal, horse, mule, donkey, whatever you come across. You're going to have an instant, and I'm saying there's times when it's instant connection, provided that animal doesn't have a lot of trauma. There's instant recognition of that you're speaking energetically, they know what you're saying, and all of this other things that we've been doing, the physical things we've been doing, are unnecessary, because now you have that thing that's so important, which is connection and communication. If you don't have those two things, nothing's going to happen in the relationship. And if you can do that instantaneously, because you're now speaking the same way a horse understands to speak energetically, all that other stuff is unnecessary. So I'll let Dr. Ev, if you have any other comments or insights onto that end of the question here. Take it away.
Well, I was just thinking about, as you know, Dr. Susie, all three of the equines that currently live at my house have been badly traumatized, and I've been having to really go from beginner student to building proficiency to try to help them. I recently purchased a weanling filly and have been able to go to the ranch and use this work with an untraumatized baby, and it's night and day. It is amazing the connection I have with this this little baby already, and I only see her maybe once a week. So it is absolutely a wonderful paradigm shift, and the connection is real and it's wonderful.
Yeah, right. And I think this gets to another question, because we brought up the trauma issue, and And part of why I've come out of hiding a little bit, as many of you may have noticed, that I didn't post a lot on Facebook. I've been a little bit in the background, and it's part of my nature not to want to be in front of crowds, and I really love to do the one-on-one work, but I feel like there's some things that need to be said, and there's some ideas that need to be presented so that we can address that trauma issue at its root, where it's really happening, and that's our current training methods that we're using. Because it would be a lovely day if I could go out there and never have to deal with the trauma that's created by training methods, because we could be so much further along. So this is part of my drive here, I guess, recently, is that, wow, I can't sit back and do nothing if I know something different. And so it gets to the question that I posed in this last newsletter about the paradigm shift that's happening. And what I'm seeing, for the most part, in a lot of the main equestrian world, is that people are beginning to think differently. And that's part of the paradigm shift. That's the very beginning of it, is that we begin to shift the way we view something. We change our perspective. And what often happens then is there's this big lag between the change in perspective and mindset and what do we do now? Because now we still have the same tools, the same methods, the same techniques. And what we're trying to do is make those adapted to this new mindset. And the question I posed is the paradigm shift so significant that it requires a whole new set of principles, methods, tools, and techniques? And my answer to that is absolutely. And that's where this work that we do in terms of the energy field steps in, because I can't use old tools, methods, and techniques and apply this stuff that I do. It doesn't work, because it takes me back into that doer mindset. I'm going to do this thing to the horse. I'm going to teach this horse this thing. They're going to, have a reaction to what I do. And I've got all these tools to deal with any reaction that comes from the horse. That's been our pattern, is to be, I'm calling it, and I'm just going to put it out here. It'll probably be all over now. It's reactive horsemanship. The horse does something, I react to it, I do something in response. And then we get a big feedback loop. And that's what, if you watch a lot of people ride and work with horses, it's just a reactive process. People are reacting to what the horse is doing, then the horse is reacting to what the person did, and it just goes on and on. If you're going to speak to them energetically, I'm finding like I don't create that feedback loop, because I've got clear communication. And I really believe, from all of the horses that I've worked with, that they want to get along. They want to do what we're asking, but we make it so complicated because of all the static and all the doing in our mind. Almost going back and watching Nancy's video again, and when I gave her that information, and it's like, it's static. We've got so much static that horse cannot figure out what we're trying to get them to do. And if we can remove that and have clear communication channels, the horse begins to do things almost when you think them, and almost before you think them. This is getting into what, as we go through this energetic equestrian, I'm going to be talking more about the quantum field and how I can have a thought, and it's even at the genesis of that thought, the thing is already happening. So it's as we step into this space, when you go to this paradigm shift, and we're going to open up our abilities to be the whole human that we were meant to be, we're going to tap into those abilities. We're going to know we can do it. And that comes with that comes a great deal of responsibility. We've got to be aware of what we're doing energetically. So again, this is a long process because we've forgotten over the decades, over the eons, we've forgotten how to do this. And I'm here saying, let's step it up. Let's remember how to do it. Let's start practicing it again, because it's going to be the thing that saves us in the end. So really what I'm trying to do, and sometimes people don't listen because I say, again, they say, oh, it's too hard. I can't do that. It's take too much time. I don't know. Do we have a choice? And that's my question. And all of the things that I do in terms of the sacred spaces principles, the methods that I use, the few techniques, there may be a few physical techniques that I do as we're doing this transition. They're all designed to help us become more aware and more energetic beings, so that we communicate not with just horses, but with the entire field. So if you guys, Dr. Ev or David, if you want to step in and make any comments on that, please feel free here.
I was just thinking, like, this week we worked with my mare. She's a lead mare. She was started by a very gifted horseman and probably had 120 days total with him, but he was very much focused on low stress. The core tenets were balance, signal, and softness. He's about, low stress stockmanship. And so she doesn't have trauma baggage from when she was raised by me, went to training, but she has lead mare characteristics. And I have a large pasture that I leased to run cattle on. It's 456 acres, rugged terrain. So, in using a horse, if I'm riding by myself, I need someone that is connected to me. And what I discovered is she can absolutely go out and do the job, no questions asked. But she has some lead mare characteristics where she's more alert and watchy and can disconnect quickly. And so, what now we're just backing up and slowing down and working with Dr. Faye this week was just creating that peace of mind, helping her to operate from the standpoint of a peace of mind, not lose the awareness that you need to have an environment. But there's a big difference between the peace of mind energy and going and doing a job in the peace of mind energy than just going out and doing a job. And so that was really a big contrast for me. Yeah, I can go get it done and she'll be okay, but it'll be better if I'll slow down, take the time to build this, not just connection, but communion with her, so that it'll be easier to keep the connection and communion going if a wild hog jumps out, in the pasture while riding, kind of thing.
Yeah. And to your point, a lot of people, in my new life where I don't do the ranch work that I used to do, but it was so imperative when I was doing ranch work in really rugged terrain up in the flat tops wilderness area, and if I were getting cattle, helping people gather cattle in on BLM lands or driving down the highway, it was imperative for my own safety and the safety of my horse that we didn't disconnect. And it seems tedious that, oh, could you stay connected and all that. It may seem tedious at the beginning, but once it kicks in and you get that, it's like you become one, and then you work as a team, as a single entity, essentially, a single energetic being as a team. And I always love, I think I showed it to some people, and maybe I can put it in the next newsletter. I love the first Avatar when they had the dire horses, or I think they called them dire horses, and the young Avatar was going to learn to ride the horse, and the person instructing him was saying, you have to plug in. And it was very interesting because they had the long tentacles that came out from their head, and then they would plug in when you got on them. Okay, you would plug in. And I remember in this clip, she would say, remember, it's all here. The control, how you do this is all right here. And I would add, it's all in our heart too. And that's kind of the imagery that I think of when I get on a horse and I'm plugging in. And I do this, if you haven't taken the breath course, that's the the reason why I did the breath course, because that's how I plug in energetically. That's how I commune when I'm in the saddle or next to the horses, through that breath, that energetic breath. So again, and this is not a plug. I'm not a, David is a marketer person, and it's like, yeah, you market, and I'm like, oh, it feels terrible when I market things. And it's like, oh, if you were interested, you could go look over there, but I'm not going to tell you, you have to, that's kind of thing. But I'm going to just admit it, I'm the world's worst business person, and I don't care, because that's not what I'm here for. I am here because I have something that's important to share. But David always reminds me, yes, you have something important to share, and so you should make it, out there more. Again, probably a lot of people get frustrated with me on this part, and I get frustrated because I don't want to play the marketing game the way it's being done in the current paradigm. I think marketing has to jump to a different paradigm also, because the hard sell is gone. It doesn't feel right here. I energetically put out, when I wrote Sacred Spaces, that it would find who it needed to find. And I never marketed that book. I never put out ads for it. It's on Amazon, people found it. So that's my technique. And I really believe that word of mouth, if somebody has worked with me and they found value in it, they would share that with somebody else. And that's how I wanted to grow. Not because somebody said, oh, check out this new thing that's happening over there. No, I want people that are invested in it because they want to invest in the paradigm shift. And, this is a constantly evolving thing. If I look back to, let's even say 2020 or 2019, when the book was written, to now, I don't even recognize Sacred Spaces as the things that I do. It's evolved so far past that I don't even recognize it anymore. So this is what's so mentally stimulating about this work, is that we probably will never have all the answers. And there's always a new fascinating thing that's going to come on, that's going to cause me to think about it in a different way and go down a different path. So my job now is to try to write down what I have so far. And that's going to be the things that I'm working on in the future here. So Dr. M, do you have any other comments about?
Oh, it's going back to what you were saying earlier in the Zoom meeting, about this is something that we all used to know how to do. I was thinking about the horse that I've been an amateur my whole life, one or two horses at a time. So it's been 50 years since I raised my last young horse. And when I had my first one, I was a teenager. I didn't know anything. Um, my parents bought a 15-year-old kid a weanling horse. What could possibly go wrong? And she and I were connected in the way that you were talking about with the avatar connection. I could just have a thought, and the horse and I were like we were one being. And as I learned more and was taught more and became a better, more mature horsewoman, I lost that and became more of the reactive horse person. Horse does X, I do X plus. And now with this baby, I feel so lucky because I have a guide to help me go back to being mentally where I was in that space at 15, where I was just being with this young horse. It's so cool because I go to walk back to my truck to leave, and this baby horse follows me away from her mother down the fence, whinnying. Like, I like what you do. Come back, come back.
Mhm.
And it's just absolutely magical. That connection is, again, I just feel really grateful to have someone to guide me to find my way back to that. So thank you.
Well, good. And I didn't pay her to do that. Really, this is not a promotional thing. I promise. I want to just kind of segment over to, a little bit of what David said about can you ride in this place? And there's kind of been this idea in the horse world that you create these connections in, you have to meditate with the horses, you have to do all this stuff over here. And it's very inert, and it's like you're just standing around, you're not doing anything. And that's a lot of people don't get past that place. And I'm saying I, in the last 40 years, have not meditated with a horse. I will take that back. I'm doing waking meditations on a particular energy frequency. That is how I do a meditation. My eyes are open, I'm present, I'm relaxed, I'm aware of the frequency I'm emitting. And that's my meditation. And it can change in an instant. I can be doing something different and choose a different energy frequency. Go back and watch Nancy's video. It's like finding the frequency that your horse needs at that moment. And as you go through this work, a lot of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you may not yet. That'll be in my next books, and I'll talk more about the frequencies and how I do those. And it's, again, within everybody's ability, but it does take practice. Because guess what? If I choose an energy frequency and I'm working with a horse, it's like, this is what he needs. He tries to knock me out of that, saying, oh no, I think you should be more distressed or something. Come over to my frequency and be with me over here and train to my fear and train to that. And a lot of times people will. And it's like, oh, and now you've got two energies radiating fear. Instead, I have to learn how to hold my frequency no matter what's happening in my environment. And this is what David was mentioning. I use a term called peace of mind. It's kind of that place where I do most of the work. And it's like, you can't knock me out of my peace of mind. I will hold that frequency. And this takes a great deal of practice. And these, again, are each energy frequency is its own individual meditative practice. And it's taken me years to practice that. You'll get different levels of competency at it as you move along. But for me, putting in the effort to do that has made the difference for me. I'm not very big, and now I'm older, and I don't have the physical strength that I may have had in my youth. But when I talked about at the beginning, what I have now is mental, emotional, and energetic strength that is far exceeds any physical skill. That's my opinion. If we can do that, so that's why when I said at the beginning, it feels like my mind is different from when I started, even a few years ago, that it has that ability to switch back and forth to different frequencies, to know where I'm at, to know what I'm radiating, and to choose which one I need to do in the moment, whether it's for my own peace of mind or the peace of mind of another. And one of the things that I'm going to caution everybody, because there's a lot of people teaching energetic things now, and they're sending their energy to different beings. I will never send my energy intentionally to another. I keep my energy within my own self because I don't want to deplete my energy, nor do I want to impose my energy on another. They may or may not want it. The way that this works is it's like the radio station. I emit this frequency. If someone or something is interested in it, they'll come closer and they'll listen and they'll sing along with the song and change themselves to align with it. So that's where, in concept, when David was saying this is simplistic, but it's also complex and it's hard because we've got to learn how to do that. So with that said, I think what we'll do is wrap up, and then Dr. Ev, if you have monitored the chat or want to see if anybody has any questions, and we'll open it up to that. And as she's doing that, I'm just going to say again, and where's this going to go in the future? I don't know. And that's part of my being in the flow is I don't have a business plan. I don't have my 5-year business plan because I don't want one. Because if I had a 5-year plan, I would think I had to stick with that 5-year plan. I want to have an idea of where I'm going and the flexibility to make a big change if I wanted to. If something came up that was so much better or put me in a different direction, I want to have the flexibility to feel like I could go there. And that's how I operate. Drives lots of people crazy, but it doesn't drive me crazy. So that just so everyone kind of understands a little bit more about how I work. I will never be that one that says, oh, I have to post 5 things today and get this many likes and then, you know, produce this much content. No, I will produce content when content knocks on the door and says, it's time for you to present this. And that's what I feel like. There's a lot of content now that I'll present in terms of a book and probably another course. And of course, the Energetic Digest, which may eventually be something that's a paid thing, because I do need to get paid to keep doing this. That's one of the hard things for me. It's like if it were possible, this would all be free to everybody. But I do need to eat and pay for my horses and all those things. So I'm trying to juggle that part of it, which is really hard for me. It's like I want to be as generous as possible, but also I need to make sure I can keep doing this at the same time. So I want to add content or value to the things that I produce that you have to pay for. And even though this is free, it's I hope it's some good content today for you. So there'll be a mix of free things and there'll be a mix of things that have a cost to them. So David, did you want
Dr.
to say
Susie, real
something?
quick, based on your paradigm shift in this context of this webinar, something that you've been driving home with me recently and with others is the difference in making a horse doing something and modeling a horse. And so when you're talking about people that transfer their energy to the horse or to another being, that's making.
Mhm.
What you're doing in your paradigm shift is modeling. And
Right.
that's huge
Mhm.
and something we really need to, and that's I think the difference maker, one of the difference makers in the needed paradigm shift.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you got some good thumbs up there. Yes, absolutely. Okay, Dr. Ev, what do we have here in the chat?
Okay, there is a question from Jessica asking, what kind of Dr. Susie things would be good to try in our first interactions or meetings with a horse?
Oh, what Dr. Susie thinks. If you've taken the course, the very first thing, and that's why I put it at the very first course that I created was the breathing method, because that's what I do. And if you never learned any other thing in all of the different things that I teach, if that was the one thing that you learned how to do, it would create really positive interactions with a lot of, it doesn't matter, horses, dogs, cats, whatever. I'm going to do my elliptical breathing. And what that does is it signals energetically that I'm both safe and trustworthy. And those are the two things, of course, those are high on the horse's hierarchy of needs is safety and trust. So if I can walk around and emit that frequency of energy that says to everything in my space that I'm safe and trustworthy, that's huge. That's huge. And it's worked with any number of beings, whether they're wild or domesticated. it's diffused, and I'm not going to say it's the only thing. It's like it diffuses. I had a dog coming at me one time. And it's like, okay, don't make eye contact and just go to that breathing. And it kind of diffused his, assault trajectory there a little bit. So it's really fundamental. And, I find like if I'm going to approach a horse, I don't. I always turn my body to another angle. I'll keep an eye on him, but I'll turn slightly away at an angle to him, and I'll just go to my breathing, and I just stay there and let them approach me. And that's my biggest thing. I don't ever go up to a horse like, hi. I'll always turn my body away and think about my breathing, and they'll usually be curious with that, and they'll come up and they'll introduce themselves. So that Jessica is probably the very first thing that I do. And then as you go along, there'll be, depending on what I think the situation is, or what is that animal, what do I want to communicate to them, I will put in to that breath a frequency. So that now that it's like a recipe, I add a little dose of this, a little dash of that, and it's going to communicate something a little bit different. So my communication is not through thought. I mean, it is through thoughts, but it's not through the verbal language that we're so used to. I may be thinking that verbal language, but really the language that I'm talking about speaking is through the body, through the energy, not through my words, the way that I use them, because those can be really confusing and convoluted. It's through the way my body's speaking. So hopefully that answered that question a little bit.
May I add something to that?
You can add something to that.
From a student perspective, because I figure, having spent my entire life being a left brain scientist, if Dr. Susie can teach me to do this, any of you can do it, because I'm like among her hopeless cases. But when I first bought my filly at age 2 months, she's 4 months now, I asked Dr. Susie, well, what are the things that I should be doing to begin to build a connection relationship with this young horse? And I'm having to retrain myself from the doing. You go in, you drag them around by a halter, you pick up their feet, you do this, you do that. And Dr. Susie's advice was to just go and breathe with her at first. And so I spent several hours early on just driving an hour each way to the ranch where the mare lives, and sitting in the corral with the mare and the foal and just breathing with them. And that was huge.
Mhm.
That was really a wonderful way to begin that relationship, and not a way that we are taught to do that in today's horsemanship paradigms. So yeah, again, if I can sort of learn to do this, you all can too.
Mhm.
It's a wonderful mindset to be working from. Are you ready for another question, Dr.
Yeah,
Susie?
I think so.
The next question in the chat was, I have a question about how I can tell my mare that she may be crossing the bridge. And I'm reading this as maybe that the mare is close to the end of her life.
Yeah. And all of us that have animals have to face this at some point. And I'll just tell you what I did on one of the last horses that I had. I just told her a story. I went and breathed with her, And I told her a story. Remember when you were back on the ranch and oh, see, now I'm gonna tear up. And we were all together. And remember your friends that were there. And I knew many of them had passed. So like, can you see them? Can you go back and it's on, find your friends, call them back in, the ones that are on the other side already. And even if you don't know if she has former horses that she was with that have passed, it doesn't matter. Just tell her, even her mom or somebody is over there on the other side, and I just start to show her like, oh, remember now you'll be able to run again like you used to do then back in the day. And I'm going through this with lots of pictures and lots of joy, actually. It's like, remember how much fun we had together back those days, and it was so wonderful. And I just saw her eyes that had been in a pain and with the tinted eyelids and all that, and she was in so much pain. And I was waiting for the vet to come, and her eyes got really soft, and the tinting went away as I told her the story. And her knees were already buckling, like I could go now. Because I painted the picture of the other side, not in fear, but in how beautiful that space was. And that I would come and be there with her at some point, that she could watch over the rest of the horses that are still here. And it was such a beautiful transition because the vet barely put the needle in and she was gone. She goes, wow, she was ready. But you can facilitate that. And it's like we have so much fear. And, it had to be like, I'm going to miss you, but I can still see you in my mind's eye. I can still connect with you energetically because your energy didn't go away, and I'll see you again. And so those are things that I've done just to help that process for an animal that's going through the transition. So. If anybody wants to add something on that, you can there. Wow, see, I got real emotional here because it's like, wow, this is hard when we have animals. This work is hard because I see so much suffering of animals, and it's like, what do I do as a human? How can I do my little part to make life better for them? And it's hard. So, okay, I'll get my act back together. Okay, Dr. M.
Well, if anybody else has questions. The response from the original poster from Patricia was, thank you, Dr. Susie. I don't want my distress and sadness to worry her. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And on that note, there was a beautiful thing, and it was it may have been in one of the courses or discussion groups that I had, and my neighbor was in there, and she's a hospice nurse, and she said, well, that she had a patient and they were ready to go, and she said, I just sat and breathed with him because he was again very agitated and stuff. And so she said, I went back and did the breathing with him, and it was just so lovely. And what she's trying to do with the nurses that she instructs is to teach them, don't go with that fear and the everything, just sit and breathe with them. Talk about a story that was something fun, pleasant, lovely, a lovely time. Because wouldn't we all want to have somebody there in our last moments breathing with us and not feeling like there's a lot of sadness or something, but feeling joy that we were there, that we spent time on this earth with them. And that's what I do with my horses too. I thank them for the times that we spent together and their contribution to my life. So, okay. Yes.
Wow. Does anybody else have questions? Please type them in the chat if you do.
And I think this is kind of a good spot to wrap up everything. And I hope that I see a lot of you in the future, and that we can create kind of a community here. That's my further intention here, is that instead of it being on Facebook where there's just so much stuff going on all the time, and competition and over overstimulation, that I can create some groups that we just talk about these deep topics, and that we go out in the world, and each one of us, because of what we radiate, that we make the change. We don't have to change anybody else. We just have to change us. And I know that's a cliche thing to say, but it's 100% true. You are only responsible for you. And that's the way I do my horsemanship. I'm responsible for me. My horse is responsible for them. They may need some guidance and some weaning off of their dependence on us controlling their lives. And I'm going to offer them back their essence and what they know how to do. And so we can have a partnership that's not built on a power differential, that's built on a relationship, that we have equal standing. And just like Dr. Ev and I, we're very different in the way that we are as human beings, but we can have an understanding and a relationship and work together. And that's really what I want for us and the horses, that there's an ease to the relationship, that it's not fraught with all this conflict and stress and all the other things. So those are kind of my parting words. David, do you have anything you want to add?
Thank you for being willing to step out there. And we talked before, son, when you're kind of shifting the paradigm, and you're out there, you get a lot of arrows in your back. And I appreciate the fact that you are stepping out there, sharing your experience in what you're doing, and that you're so giving in what you do share. And for anybody out there that's kind of not sure, it's worth the time. It's worth being patient if you have to be. I don't like the P word, patience, but it's necessary. But you are, you've laid the elements today. I mean, you're laying those elements of the paradigm shift that needs to happen for the good of the human and the horse and other beings as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for being here. You were one of the original people too coming on. I think you met me at the Ward Schiller Summit, perhaps.
Yeah, I read your book, and then I met you in person there.
Right.
And they said, yeah, I like this shift. It needs to be different.
Right. I'm going to say one of the few people that did approach me at that. But, I talked about bananas. So I'm not expecting everybody to think I'm normal. I just want to really screen out people at the beginning so they don't come in thinking, oh, well, that's who she is. And then they go, oh, she has a banana and she talks on it. Oh, okay. If you don't know about that, you can go on my website and watch my talk. Oh my God. I thought I'd never live this one down. What was I thinking? All right. Dr. Ev, anything you want to add?
Hang on. Okay, just checking the chat. No, this all the admiration and respect for the courage it takes for you to put yourself out there and do this work and share it with all of the rest of us. So, yeah. I'm just very grateful. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah, I dream of the day when people can do sacred spaces things at their barn and not have to do it in private with everyone scrutinizing. What are you doing over there? Why are you doing that? That's my dream, is that it could become more of like, why are you doing that over there? Instead, why are you causing that much stress on your horse over there? That would be the
Mhm.
next paradigm shift, is more people here saying, wow, look at what they're doing. Why are they still doing that? So with that said, I want to thank everyone for signing up for the newsletter, and I will continue at my best to get those out once a month. It may not always be on the first, depending on my travel schedule, and Dr. Ev usually edits it for me, so it's not full of all sorts of typos and something like that I can't read after I looked at it a bunch. So I'll continue to announce different things that are happening. There's really fun things on the horizon, and I've applied for a trademark for some of the stuff that I'll present in my next book, and it's part of the new paradigm shift. So I just need time to isolate and write and get that all out there. So thank you again, everybody. I can't tell you how much it means to a recovering introvert. I'm doing my best. And I'll probably, with kicking and screaming, I'm out there more than I have been in the past. So with that said, thank you everyone for spending a few moments of your Saturday morning with the three of us, and we'll do this again sometime. So take care, everybody.